And a good morning to you, Lagos. You're tuned in and listening to Smooth Breakfast on Smooth 98.1. It is with Valentine.
It's with Folu.
We are officially inside a freshly pressed 981, a detailed newspaper analysis segment. And to help us out with analysis this morning, we have Tunde Okufi as Big Cuffs up on social media. Good morning, Tunde.
Morning, Folu.
Excellent. Always great to hear from you. And Lagos, is great to hear from you as well. Do contact us on our different social media platforms.
On WhatsApp, actually, the number, first of all, WhatsApp is 0809. Number, first of all, WhatsApp is 0809. On Twitter.
Talking about the aviation industry. A headline from Vanguard newspaper says that aviation unions are backing FAAN's proposal. Of increased service charge. Now, this passenger service charge is one that's collected by airlines upon purchase of tickets and paid to FAAN after completion of the flight. We will. Most of us can cast our minds back to 2011 when it was last increased, and you have to pay that extra bit, and they put the little sticker on your airline ticket. Now, the argument that's being put forward here by the NAV and Mr. Abdul Zach Saidu is that, well, since the time when that was last increased, we are dealing with inflation. We're looking at the value of our currency, and the reality that 4 new terminals have also been built to international standards, so that this review is 8 years, or since the last 8 years, it's time. They're saying it's time. What are your thoughts?
Okay, so right in respect to the currency, there has been a lot of movement in the naira since 2011. Now, they say it's they use the word increase, but the truth is it's halved in value. So I guess that was an error. It's literally half or more than half in value from 2011 till now. But I mean, if you look at it, okay, so a couple of things come out to me here. They say this additional, they're increasing it, but when you look at our airline tickets, you realize that we have one of the highest proportion of taxation across the world. More than half of the fee that you pay is tax.
I was going to talk
things
about
like
that.
this, so it becomes ridiculous, and you begin to ask and wonder what exactly the money is for. And then these are the things that come out to me. They say it's for maintaining common areas in the passenger terminals, providing passenger information. So maintaining common areas, providing passenger information, and security. Now we go to the airports. For airports, please tell me which of these things look like they've received any proper attention.
Because our boards don't display any information.
They don't display information.
In fact, I don't know where the boards are.
They barely work.
You can't hear.
You can't hear. If you're in certain sections of the airport and you think that you'll be informed about your flights, you're on your own.
I have missed a flight before as a result of that.
You will not find people unless you find the airline desk people, the airline you're flying with. You will not find anyone to provide you with information.
Wow, I forgot we had boards. Like we're supposed
to have boards. We're supposed to have boards. And then security. Well, I mean, let's say they've done okay with that, but I mean, we all know they set up an impromptu toll, at the entrances when people are trying to get in. So,
which we had very recently, Aremwa Folayo complaining bitterly about that. Yes.
So when you look at why I'm paying more than half of my ticket is on taxes, and they say this is what it's for. It's a little hard to take. So obviously the aviation unions will take it, but what about consumer or passenger unions? I don't know if they've had any consideration for that. And then the other thing is that they say it's for new technology. They have new terminals, and I'm wondering which ones. Is it the ones where which parts? Maybe it's for areas that we can't see.
Right.
Is it where we keep complaining about the air traffic controller at Murtala not breaking down or not working? And so which new tech, please?
So perhaps today what we're looking at first of all is more information to know by how much they intend to increase this, because they haven't told us that, and really transparency in exactly how our taxes are being used, so that there's some form of accountability.
Exactly. So yes, they're right. It's probably too higher than they should ever have been. Yeah, they probably need to adjust, but we still, I think, pay a disproportionate amount for flight and taxes.
Thank you very much for that, Tunde. Moving on now, let's talk from air to road transport. Okay, now this time from the Guardian newspaper, the federal government yesterday flagged off the reconstruction of the Apapa-Oshodi-Oworonshoki-Ojota Expressway. They're saying that this will be reconstructed by AG Dangote Construction Limited. The cost of this, 73 billion naira. Delivery time within 2 years. However, the federal government is still pleading with stakeholders to cooperate. And that's a big. And a reminder that this road was built between 1975 and 1978. The maintenance on it over the last, since then, has been virtually non-existent as far as we know. And it's a bit concerning. Now, today, again, when we look at issues of transparency and accountability, we keep seeing billions being put in towards construction work. And one can't help but wonder, what is the cost of the initial construction vis-a-vis the maintenance cost of this? How there is no breakdown. We're not given any information as to exactly how this $73 billion adds up to a road within 2 years. But we have to wait for 2 years. And each time our government has given us a timeline for a road, that timeline has not been met.
Yeah, but this seems to be, or should I say, this is different. So they're taking a different approach.
Okay.
And I'll get to that in a minute. But this is one of those headlines where when you start to read it, or you start to read the first paragraph, you're initially excited because it says the federal government's find a permanent solution, right, to the gridlock and the accident. And the first thing. Then I read further down and it repair an existing road. And I'm like, okay, the problem in that axis is not necessarily, it is part of the problem.
Yes.
And when we have bad roads and we have potholes and we can't move goods and services fluidly, there is an impact on the economy. But it's not the only reason. What about all the tankers that are lined up on the road? There's a reason why they're there. It's not because the road is bad. This is about fixing an existing road. I don't think is the permanent solution. It's part of the solution. Now this is different. When I say this is a little different, this is, like I said, it's been driven by Dangote and it's being funded by Dangote. I mean, the men who built America style, sort of comes to mind because he says, where is it? Sorry, one second. He says, they've commissioned Dangote, and his company commissioned the project because of the impact it was having on his business, right? So the 73, it's given to him in the form of an advanced tax, so he gets tax breaks, bottom line, for investing, for spending money and investing on fixing this.
That's true, because he said that over 60% of revenue had been lost by businesses because of the state of the road.
Exactly, and so that's a big question. So let's say they've been creative in how they've approached this. It's not government money going to it directly. The questions that one would obviously have to look at is then, we still need to do the proper, there needs to be accountability to be sure that it costs this amount of money. Mr. Dangote already has huge, vast amounts of money. There's no need for us to be dashing him more. If the road costs half of what is of this 73 billion, but who knows? But the fact is, hopefully at the end of the day, we will have a functioning road on that axis, and it provides a viable alternative to government projects.
Absolutely, and his money is literally
it's his
there.
money there. So I kind of believe that within the two projects overshoot, but it won't be the never-ending projects that we have typically experienced.
Thank you very much. We have got more. This man, what will it cost him to kill me, a commoner? He's being sued for $1 billion, but let's not forget that back in 2015. How this is happening, but they're not giving information as to the people behind them. It feels like there's no follow-up. They're just announcements of seizures.
It's busy work.
Busy? Just busy.
It's busy work because seizures are right, like you said, but it's not the first time contraband has been, found at the ports. The last couple of time to time, arms are seized within containers. Those containers are registered to people and or companies. The people behind, again, are often never brought forward or brought out, or we never hear anything about it. And that's an indication of things. Either they're just too powerful to be touched or have too much money that things die. So instead of just, they shouldn't stop at the announcement. They should let us know those who are behind it. The other thing that comes to mind is since 2017, they've been watching the containers, just watching the containers. First thing that comes to mind to me is efficiency and the state of our ports.
Thank you very much. We've got several messages coming through this morning, so let's get through some of them.
And my sent in this one on WhatsApp. Said it was a curious case of Benjamin Butler. Yes, inflation is a factor, but what are the added values for my money? You cannot defend such hikes with academic arguments.
Yeah.
Next story, please move on to this next one. Still talking about Apapa roads from Waji. Waji says fixing the Apapa roads is not going to solve the problem, like Tunde said. Decongesting the ports and ensuring the railway to transport the goods for the ports to other parts of the country is the only way. That entire causeway was not designed for such vehicular movements, so fixing existing roads will do nothing. Dangote getting involved benefits him only. And this one is talking about the Tramadol issue. That's DR from CMS. It says, hello, Tramadol is not banned. No reason to ban as it's a legitimate painkiller. Move on to the next story today. A Friday newspaper. Court begins hearing of CCNL's 15 billion naira suit against NBC over license revocation. Broadcaster mined back in 2017, although not verified that this is closely related to this, but it's very relevant to note that the NBC flagged about 35 media houses for ban, said they were given a 60-day window to pay up the fee, not meet up with that deadline. And then right now, the Cable Channels Nigeria Limited, CCNL, is suing the NBC for that said amount, 15 billion naira. Said they incurred a lot of sums, that they waited 2 years before they brought, they revoked their license. Why will they allow them operate for that long? Tunde?
Yeah, it's interesting, and I mean, and just like you pointed out, I mean, it's been difficult for us to ascertain the reason why they revoked, this license in this particular case, because as you can clearly, as the story tells us, these guys did make some payments to the government. Now, did it come late? Did it not happen within the window?
150 million.
100 exactly. Did it not come within the right amount of time? And if it didn't, they should have been quicker in responding and not letting them operate for a period of time. But all of that is clear. I mean, the only things that I'd like to highlight in this, now, if there's a dispute, obviously of this nature, they should go to court, and it's the right thing. And the defendants, of course, are the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, along with the Commissioner of the NBC. Yes. And this is what happened at the last sitting on October 30th. None of the defendants, and of course they don't have to come in person, they can be represented by their lawyers, whatever. None of the defendants were in court or represented by their lawyers. So in short, they just ignored it. Subsequently, Justice Ahmed Mohammed ordered that hearing notice be served on the parties and adjourn the matter to Monday, November 19th for commencement of for commencement. And things to me that this is the way of justice in Nigeria, and it can continue like this really forever, because there's no guarantee that anyone would attend or honor today's court dates either.
We'll follow the story closely to bring you updates as it unfolds. Now, from New Telegraph, which we'll go to next, we have the story here. Banks confiscate 79 filling stations, 9 tank farms over debt. And this is in connection with the, I think, 800 million debts is owed by the federal government to this distributors and this, marketers, really all marketers. 79 filling stations and 9 tank farms have been claimed to, the processes to repossess those billion naira federal government. They said the marketers are complaining that as soon as the banks heard the announcement that the federal government has approved for these sums to be paid them, they swooped in and started confiscating the assets. Like, pay me that money, pay up, guys.
You can understand. I think it's doing business in Nigeria. You squeeze your debtors, before they get comfortable, and the monies go elsewhere. Look, the banking industry is heavily sector, and I mean it's unavoidable because it's a huge part of our, and it's a profitable part. I mean, if you remember, when the economic downturn of 2015 or 2016 started, a lot of banks took a hit on oil and gas, investments and loans to the oil and gas sector, and some of them even seized rigs and equipment and parked it at the marina so that they can't be looking at. But that hasn't changed, right? Because again, oil and gas sector is a huge sector within the industry, and the market point out that this is position sequence of the government not doing its part. So the actions and inactions for our government can, do have a trickle effect. I mean, it goes without saying, but
why make this announcement?
It's a very good question, and being part monies to be paid. Why were the monies not paid? Is that the monies were not available? Is that someone is, doing something with the money, and then announcements have been made? The banks obviously are going to come in and ask the creditor, the debtor, sorry, when can we receive our funds? And if there's any funny business, because of their past experience, they would, take a much harder line. They would understand they were the last time around to oil and gas.
Sorry, just to correct something message that people keep sending about Tramadol not being banned. The importation of Tramadol is banned, and if you just do a quick search, you'll see that the Premium Times had covered it earlier this year, because Tramadol and codeine, otherwise there would be no need to seize containers containing Tramadol if it was not a banned import substance.
Thank you very much. And talking about Premium Times, that's where we'll take the next story from. Nigerians advised to be alert as meningitis season begins. As coming from the Nigerian Center for Disease Control and meningitis starts from November to June with a peak in April. It said this is, it's from bodily human to human contact, and they're advising people to not live in enclosed spaces. But we know how the economic situation is with many families. And it said, casting our minds back to 2016, 2017, where they had the highest case recorded of meningitis, about 481 suspected cases then were reported in some states. Lagos is part of them. Right, with hotspot areas that they need to point out. They said first, the reason why we had the higher casualties in those years between that period was because they did not have the vaccines available right now, but they have more. But they're still advising people to be cautious.
So lack of planning is part of it. So this is what they advise, and this is the opening point. This is what they advise. Nigerians have been cautioned to stop living in crowded rooms, seek medical advice when down with fever, and be more alert to the outbreak of cerebrospinal meningitis (CSM) in the environment. In summary, what this means is go and apply to go to Canada.
No, really.
Or where else? Because we're in Nigeria, right? Have they looked at living conditions? People don't live in crowded areas because they want to. There's no choice. People don't seek medical advice not because they hate medical advice, but because they can't afford to. And the last point, we live in a CSM belt. It happens annually. So really and truly, what are you telling people to do?
Cutting across 24 states.
Yeah, it's something that's going to happen. There's a lot that they can't deal with. A lot of the things you told them to be cautious about, they can't do anything about. What can we do things about is have vaccines ready. It's educate people. It's to be a lot more proactive. Between 2016 and 2017, over 1,000 people died.
Yes.
1,166. In other climes, in other countries, that's classified as a pandemic. It's not something to happen. It's alarming. The other thing that I find important or useful to mention here is that a lot of the time, at least in years past, people had the perception that it was something that struck in the north alone. But you realize that Lagos is one of the states like you mentioned. So it's something for everyone to be wary about, and don't just think, it's something that happens in certain parts of the country.
Thank you, Tunde. Moving on to this next story from ThisDay newspaper. NEITI, federal government, states, local government, 8 trillion naira in the third quarter of 2018. So revenue disbursements by the Federal Accounts Allocation Committee, FAAC, to the 3 tiers of government has witnessed a steady increase according to this report in 3 consecutive quarters of the year, with 2.28 trillion naira shared in the third quarter of 2018. They said the federal government got the highest allocation of 904 billion naira, and local governments got the lowest of 432. They said the Niger Delta got the most because of the 13% derivation fund. What are your thoughts on this today?
This is information, other than the statistics. There's nothing out of the ordinary, out of the place here. They say it's experienced a steady increase. Yes, that's because oil prices have been higher than people expected or were budgeted. And then we'll have headlines about it being steadily lower. So really, so that federal government got the largest share, yes, because that's what we operate in states next, and then the local governments come after. Then the Niger Delta gets the biggest individual chunk because of the 13% derivation. This is expected.
Receiving hands.
Yes, I'm just not going to go into that whole side about structure and viable states and all this. This is what we want to run. We run that thing where it runs every month.
All right, we've got quite a few that we'll talk about this morning. Now, J. Lou says, if you read my mind, I'm tired of hearing that NDLEA sees that and Customs sees the other thing. What happens to the people behind these things they're seizing? Surely there is documentation. By the way, please, because leave Dangote alone. No, that's Nigeria's unofficial president.
I'm telling you.
If he makes double the money from fixing the road, so be it. His jobs and CSR sustain millions of Nigerians, and that's echoed in several other places. Well, we've got this message that has come in from Mr. No Name here.
Please put your names in your messages.
I do believe
Mena, I think.
Mena sent in this message. Mena, please next time put your name into the message. It says we should kuku cede Nigeria to Dangote now, but if he can negotiate this, he might as well advise the government to fix rails and refineries so that his trucks and countless articulated vehicles get off the road. He is actually doing that. She goes on to say, I grew up in Kaura, Namoda, and remember the coaches bringing our stuff from Lagos to the terminus there. If the rails are fixed, then we won't have Nigerians dying daily from these nonchalant and careless drivers. As for NDLEA customs, just think of EFCC and their media trials. And who says people giving absolute opinions on facts that they do not know of? Interesting stuff. Thomas from Lagos sends in this message to say, when tariffs are increased arbitrarily, it does not cause inflation. But when Labour asks for an increase for minimum wage, everybody, especially the press and journalists, start screaming inflation. Now, wow. Next level to wear or watch. More poverty or hardship. Once beaten, are they through with the change? Anyways, if APC wins, I know who voted for them, and such people should not expect to get a dime of my hard-earned kobo in any way. Nigerians should vote with sentiments and be saved from hardship. As far as I'm concerned, this is an extension of the Abacha government. Wow, Thomas. Wow. That's quite a stretch there.
And Yinka sent in this one. Said, guys, in the country, the cost of CSM vaccine is off the roof. In some cases, as high as 13,000.
So with doctors, them heavily subsidized. That will go a long way to curb self-medication. A lot of people run away from hospitals because of doctor consultation fees, which must be paid, by the way. Again, Jide, it depends on what hospitals you're going to. Government hospitals are heavily subsidized, and the fees are very low, but people don't trust government hospitals is an issue that we have, and there are some actually pretty good ones.
And there are not enough of them.
Yes, there are just not enough of them, but they are there. We've got Emeka Wachuku says, please, Tramadol has not been banned. Again, the importation of Tramadol is banned. Please just do a simple search and you will see that, as well as codeine. Otherwise, the NDLEA would not be seizing containers with Tramadol if there was no issue with that. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does.
Do I need to? Ayo up on Twitter, Miss Ayamide sends in this message.
It says, let's face it, OBJ is broke. 1 billion naira is just too huge of a money.
The man is far from broke.
He's far from broke.
It's far from broke, man.
Ayo continues though. It says, more so, everyone has the freedom of speech. Come to think of it, Obasanjo might not have committed a crime, but I think he knows a lot more than he's pretending to admit. Indeed.
$1 billion naira is punitive. Okay, when people do things like that, if the intent is to destroy the person that they're asking for that amount of money from, so that your whole family
bring him to ruin.
Yes, exactly. So it's not because he needs $1 billion.
The court is not going to award $1 billion at the end of the day.
No, but they will award they could award a substantial enough amount that it would leave
to set him back for a couple of centuries.
Yes, exactly. Tony Egbo sends in a tweet to say, tanker drivers now blocking 2 sides of the road in Echo Bridge. Residents of Surulere are suffering. Please help us. Again, Lagos State government, we put out this call because it is dangerous, it is scary, and it is frightening to see tankers permanently parked on any bridges in Lagos. I'm so sorry to say it, but we are playing around with lives.
Yes.
If we leave those tankers there, please,
because
please, Lagos State government, do something about it. Don't let us say, oh, rest in peace to people later on, please. It is dangerous.
And then we got this message from Mr. G Quest here on Twitter. It says, thank God for Uncle Aliko. He single-handedly contributes 10% to our GDP, the largest philanthropist in Africa, and fixes our roads too. Where would Nigeria be without our favorite uncle? Kukma, let us dash him Nigeria, all in favor of Uncle Aliko for presidency. Right?
I mean, on that note, we are done with this morning's newspaper rundown. Thank you very much to everyone who's joined us. Don't forget that we'll open up our phone lines between the 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock hours, all right? So get ready to call us up at that time on this number. It is 01 044-898-981. In the meantime, do keep listening, because up next we'll be talking sports inside the locker room. Tega is here and she is ready. And finally, we want to say a big thank you to Tunde Okufi for joining us this morning. Big cuffs with the rundown all through. That's the one. All right, don't go anywhere. It is still Smooth Breakfast with Valentine.
And with Folu.
Good morning.
Get quick access to loans from